Good evening. Move my ball of yarn out of the way. Get that all ready for tonight. All right, let's get right into it tonight. We're going to be learning to read written patterns and charts tonight. So I made up a little sample pattern, and it's a recap of what we learned all month, all of our basic stitches, or most of our basic stitches. We're going to start with reading written patterns first. But before we get into that, I have an announcement to make for June. Every 2 months or so, we do a granny event. We did one in February, we did one in April, so we come up to June. And both February and April's were granny weeks. We're not doing granny week this time around. We're doing granny month. So every stream, with the exception of temperature blanket, will be a granny square. And the hint I was giving earlier in the past week or so was like how I want my channel to grow, so does the granny squares. All of the granny squares for the month of June will be flower and garden themed. So a lot of floral granny squares, and they're mostly going to be, I think they all are, 3-dimensional. So there's going to be a lot of interesting patterns that are showing up. I don't think they're all going to work together. They might not all be the exact same size. So it's not like something you can make and then piece them together. You possibly could. You might have to do a couple extra rounds for some of them. But that is what's going on for June. So let's check this out. We're going to go right into our chart. Now, above me is the written chart, and I will move it as we go. So I just wanted to make certain that it was visible for everybody to see as we go along. This is what our sample is going to look like. We're going to start here at the bottom and progress to the top. Once we do this for the written, then the second half of the stream we'll make it again, but following the chart. There's 2 ways of reading a pattern, either written out or a chart diagram. So we're going to start with the foundation chain, and it says right here at the top, wait a minute, it says right here, I can actually highlight it. It says chain 11. So if we go all the way back to the beginning of the month when we learned how to do the chain stitch, that's what this is. So we're going to chain 11 stitches. If the music's a little too loud, I can adjust the levels. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that's 11 chains. It's actually 10 chains plus 1 turning chain, because now the next row is 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So what's highlighted there, we're going to skip the first chain, and into the second chain, we're going to put in a single crochet. That's the highlighted part of the instructions, what I just did. So that chain that we skipped, our 11th chain, is a turning chain. And the turning chain is what you need to give you height to do your row of singles. And I got to resize my window a little bit. Okay, so we're going to scoot on over, and then the rest of row 1 says, and then in each additional chain in the foundation. So that means we're going to do a single crochet in the second chain from the hook like we did, and then also in each additional chain of the foundation. So all that's saying is every chain gets a single crochet. When you get to the end of the row, you should have 10 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we have our row of 10 single crochets. Real simple. Alrighty, so let's go to row 2. Row 2 is wanting us to chain 2 and turn the work. So we flip it over. And then it's saying 1/2, oh, I extended it a little too far. 1/2 double crochet in each stitch of the row. So we're going to do our 1/2 double crochet in each stitch. Uses a lot of abbreviations. Some of them I have not abbreviated. It's real common abbreviations. You got, if you see anything that says SC, that's single crochet, DC is double crochet, HDC is half double crochet, etc. It's a lot of common sense type abbreviations. So I've done a half double in each of the stitches across. That was row 2. Row 3, move this over a little more, wants us to chain 3 and turn. 1, 2, and 3, and then turn. And then it wants 1 double crochet in each stitch of the row. So it's real simple. I didn't want these instructions to be too complicated. We get further down, they will be a little more complex. Again, each time we're doing this, it's 10 stitches in each row. So we've done a row of singles, a row of half doubles, and now a row of doubles. Gotta get enough slack out. I could make this double crochet. Keeps slipping off the hook. So there's our row of doubles. Real easy. It'll get more complicated as we go. Row 4 wants us to chain 4 and turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we've turned. And now it wants us to do 1 triple crochet in each stitch of the row. So I've yarned over once and twice because we're going to do a triple. Go in and do your triples. I'm just working my way across. I'm not increasing or decreasing on any of this. There's our row of triples. Okay. Well, row 5 wants us to chain 5 and turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn. And then row 5 wants 1 double trouble in each stitch. So double trouble again. We wrapped it once for our double, twice for a triple, 3 times for our double trouble. So it's actually 4 loops on the hook. I'm not going to have every stitch we did this month in this sample. Like there's no triple troubles in it, and there's no there's no bullion loops or Solomon's knots in this sample. I think everything else is in it. Again, we're doing double triples, so we've got 4 loops on the hook. And you just go in and the usual. Yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2 as many times as you get to the end. The only time we're going to do any increasing or decreasing is when it's not really increasing and decreasing. The only time we're going to have, it's not all going to line up in 10 stitches in a row is when we get to like the fans and the bobbles and those types of things. Okay, I'm at my last double trouble. So there I got my row of double troubles. Row 6 wants us to chain 3 and turn. 1, 2, 3, and turn. And what it wants us to do is 1 front post double crochet in each stitch. That's not really lining up. There we go. So chain 3, so that means we're going to do a double. So we're going to do a front post double crochet for each stitch. After doing all those double troubles, these front post doubles go quick. I'm going to make certain I have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, and I got one here at the end for 10. So there is our front post double crochets. Okay. Row number 7 here wants us to chain 3 and turn. Chain 3. We're going to turn. And then it wants us to do 1 back post double in each stitch. So refresher for a back post double. So a front post, the post of the stitch is going to be, the hook is going to go, actually no, got to word it the other way. The post of the stitch is going to be in front of the hook. That's a front post. A back post, the post of the stitch is going to be behind the hook. So we're wrap for a double, and then we're going to go from the back side. So the post is now behind the hook, and you're going to work it like that. It's easier if you fold everything in half to make the stitch. So we're just going to back post every stitch. We should have 10 of them. couple more to go. I count right now, make sure I have the right amount. 1, 2, I need to make one more. Okay, we come to the end of the row. Now row 8 wants us to chain 3 and turn. 1, 2, 3, and turn. And now what it wants us to do is to do 5 doubles in the 3rd stitch. So we find 1, 2, 3, the 3rd stitch. We're going to do 5 double crochets in that stitch. Four and 5. Hey there, sarcastic yarn hoarder, and feel free to lurk. So we did 5 double crochets in the 3rd stitch, which is a fan. And then the rest of the instructions say skip 4 stitches and then 5 double crochets in the next stitch. So we're going to skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in the following stitch, we're going to do 5 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then let's see what else it says. Then it says 1 double in, and I got to move this over, the turning chain from the previous row. So we do a double into our turning chain from the row below. That double is just going to anchor it and frame it, because if not, the end of that fan will just be flying on its own. So that's row 8. Row 9 wants us to chain 4 and turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to turn. And it wants us to do 2 double crochet. Oops. Would help if I have it on screen. It wants us to do 2 double crochets together in the first 2 stitches. So that means we're going to do a double, go in, bring it up. So that is our first double crochet. It's not finished yet because we're going to do them together. And then go in and do it again. So there's 2 double crochets. They're in the first 2 stitches. And go through and finish the stitch. Then we've got an asterisk. We got stuff in between the asterisks. So what that means is you're going to do everything that's in between the asterisks until you get to the end of the row. And I didn't put that in here. But you repeat that as many times as needed until the end of the row. So now we're going to chain 1. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets together in the next 2 stitches. So there's the 1, and there's the 2, and then double crochet them together. So we did that. Now we got to go back to the asterisk, chain 1, and then it says 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. You keep repeating what's between the asterisks until the end, or until it tells you other things to do. So now we've done that. Now we're going to chain 1 and now do another 2 double crochets together in the next 2 stitches. And then keep going. Chain 1, 2 double crochets together in the next 2 stitches. Chain 1, and then 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches, which will include the turning chain. The turning chain. And that is the end of row number, was that 9? was 9. Okay. Row 10 wants us to chain 3 and turn. 1, 2, 3, and turn. And then it wants us to do a puff stitch, which in this case is 3 half double crochets in the first stitch. So in the first stitch, we're going to do a puff, which is, we've done 1, go in 2, and then go in and 3, and then finish the puff stitch. And the puff stitch always has a chain 1 to lock it. I'll continue the rest of this row after the ad break. Okay, welcome back everybody. Thank you for sitting through that ad. Okay, to recap what we have done so far on this row, we have chain 3 and turn, and then we've done 1 puff stitch, and in this case the puff stitch consists of starting 3 half double crochets, and we did that in our very first stitch. And then we've chained 1 to lock it in place like you do with a puff stitch. Now we have some more information in the asterisks. So we're going to chain 1, skip the next chain space, and then it says 1 puff stitch in the next stitch. And that's between the asterisks. And then it also says here, repeat to the end of the row. So whatever's in that asterisk, which is chain 1, skip 1 chain space from the previous row, and then do a puff stitch. And we're going to do that all the way to the end. So now we've chained 1, we're going to skip our chain space, and in this case we're working in the top of our 2 double crochets together, and in that we will do a puff, and this puff is consisted of basically 3 half double crochet, or starting 3 half double crochets. So there's 1, yarn over, go in, bring up a loop, that's 2, yarn over, go in and bring up a loop, that's 3, then yarn over through all of them. Again, that was shown on the stream when I did the puffs. And then we're going to chain 1 to lock it. Now we're going to continue what's between the asterisks. We're going to chain 1, skip the space, and in the next stitch, do another puff. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 to lock it. Just keep that pattern over and over again. 1, 2, and 3. 2, 3. It helps if I count how many times I do it, because if not, I will miscount, and I'll either do 1 too many or 1 not enough. So yeah, I've locked it and I've done my chain. And now we can go and do our last puff. That's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 to lock it. So that was row 10. Again, this is just a sample, so our rows are not all going to be perfect and lined up. This isn't an actual finished thing. It's going to be frogged out when we're done, but it's just to get the idea of how patterns are read. So now we have row 11. We have a total of 13 rows with this pattern. Row 11, it wants us to chain 4 and turn. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and turn. And then it wants us to do 1 bobble stitch, which consists of 3 double crochets in the bobble. So we chain 1, we're going to do our bobble, and in that stitch, that's there. Let me find the top of the stitch. It's right here. Give me a second. I got to reorient myself. Chain the stitch. Okay. To do our first 1, 2, and that's 3, and then we're going to yarn over through all of them. So there's our bobble. And then we have our asterisks again. It wants us to chain 1, skip a chain space, and then we're going to do 1 bobble in the next stitch. And we're going to keep doing that over and over again until we get to the end of the row. So now we chain 1, and then we're going to skip the space, which is here, and in the top of the next stitch, we'll do another bobble. Chain 1, skip the next space, and in the top of the next stitch, we're going to do another bobble. Keep in mind, remember, bobbles are multiple stitches that start in the same bottom place and the top place. They're usually double crochets. You do partial double crochets for however many that are specified. They start in the same bottom. The bottom portions have the same point, and the top have the same point. Thanks for the raid. Oh, thank you for the raid, Upcycly. How are you? I haven't had a raid in a while. I appreciate that. How was your stream? I'm pretty good. I'm just showing how to read crochet patterns. Since we're winding down the back to basics here in May. What were you working on in your stream? Great stream, great company. Took apart a cat sweater to use for fill for your baby alien. Nice. And thank you for the follow, 3 Marie. Everybody check out Upcycly's channel when you get a chance. She also will stream on YouTube. I know the one time I tuned in, I think you were making were you making scrubbies out of plarn? I think that's what it was. No. I actually, when I tuned in, you were making a bracelets out of plarn. He does a lot of recycled crafts, taking used items and making something new out of them. Thanks for the YouTube mention. May I drop? Yeah, definitely drop it. Drop your link. Definitely. And you're part of my Discord, I think. So you can always post that in the Discord. Feel free to do that. Yeah, definitely check her out. And those of you who are new, I have a Discord and I also have a YouTube channel. So if you guys want to check that out, all my YouTube channel is my re-uploads of my stream here. Just so if you miss something or weren't clear on something, you can always watch it back. Because Twitch doesn't only keeps the VODs up for a certain amount of time, like 5 days. Then after that, they're gone. So I want to archive everything and keep them in a space that you can come back to them. So all I'm doing is just showing how to read patterns. And I'm doing a little sample, just the basic stitches that I showed earlier in the month. Singles, doubles, half doubles, fans, front posts, back posts, clusters, puffs, that type of thing. So we just did row 11. And that was our row of bobbles. Now we're going to do row 12. Row 12 wants us to chain 4 and turn. You love this, especially that you have the pattern up. Yep. And it's a pattern I just came up with. Yeah, definitely. Take care of what you need to take care of. Have a good lurk. I have the pattern is something I just came off the top of my head, real simple, nothing complex. And just reviewing some of the stitches that we've done. Again, it's not a perfect pattern. There's going to be some issues with width and stuff. So row 12 wants us to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. And now, whoops, it wants us to do 1 popcorn, and it's specifying here the popcorns are made of 5 double crochets, and that 1 popcorn will be in the first stitch. Those of you who are not familiar with a popcorn stitch, we did it the other, I think earlier this week. So a popcorn stitch, just to review, It's a number of double crochets in a stitch. In this case, it's 5. And 5. And when you start it out, it looks like a fan. You make the loop big, you take your hook out, and you go back to the very first double crochet you made. It's not the turning chain, it's actually the first of the 5. And then you insert your hook, and then put the loop on your hook, pull it up tight, and pull it through, and chain 1 to lock. That's a popcorn. So it makes this domed 3-dimensional shape. So it said make 1 popcorn in the first stitch, and then in between the asterisks, it's chain 1, skip a chain space, and then it's 1 popcorn in the next stitch. We're going to repeat that until the end of the row. So we're going to chain 1, skip the space, and in the next stitch, do another popcorn. 3, 4, 5. Take the hook out, reinsert it into the beginning of our 5 that we made. Put the loop back on, snug it up, pull it through, chain 1 to lock. So we're just going to continue our pattern all the way across. My stitches are not the best here, but 5. I'm going to make my little stitch. Four and 5. Those of you who've joined my raid, again, welcome. Also, wanted to make an announcement. I made an announcement at the beginning of the stream. I'm going to make it again. Every 2 months or so, I do a granny event here on the stream. Variations of granny squares. We did a granny week in February, and we did a granny week in April. In June, as you can see, it's listed here at the top of the screen. June, we are having not granny week, we are having granny month. Every stream, with the exception of Sundays. Sundays, I do a temperature blanket project. All my other streams that I do will be a granny themed stream. And for the month of June, it is going to be flowers and gardens. So we'll have a lot of floral granny squares. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and review. I think all of them are 3-dimensional, meaning when they're laying flat, the flowers are going to stick up off the surface of the square. Okay, I've come to the end of my row. So that is row 12. And again, it's wider at some points. Again, it's not perfect. It's more of an how-to instead of a perfect project. Okay, row 13, wants us to chain 1 and turn. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. And then it wants us to do a picot stitch in the first stitch. What I have found, the best way to do a picot stitch in the first stitch is actually do a single crochet into it, and then chain up 3, and then we're going to slip and picot, the basic picot, chain up 3, slip stitch into the very first chain you made. Oops. And that's your picot. Then the pattern wants us to 1 single crochet in the chain space and 1 picot in the next stitch. We'll repeat that to the end. So we have a chain space here. We're going to do a single crochet. The next stitch wants us to do a picot, so we'll do a single. And then I should have rewrote the pattern. it should be a single crochet in the chain space, single crochet in the next stitch, and then a picot, because it's building on top. Again, I'm not a professional crochet pattern writer. It's just something I came off the top of my head. There's our chain, our single crochet in the chain, and now our single crochet here, and now we're going to do our picot. And just continue that all the way across. We're going to slip stitch to make our picot. And I have videos on all of these stitches. Again, check out the YouTube channel if you want to watch any of my past streams. And then I'm going to do a picot here at the end. Oh, right here. 1, 2, 3. And that concludes our little written pattern. So we started with singles, worked our way up in size, and then we did more specialty stitches, like our front and back posts, our fans, our clusters, puffs, bobbles, popcorns, and the picot row. Now what I'm going to show is basically the exact same thing, but I'm going to walk you through the diagram. I don't think I'm going to crochet as we go. Let me see if I can make this a little smaller here. What is on the screen right now, right above me, and I know it's probably difficult to see because it's real small, but that is the chart diagram for what I just showed. Exactly, stitch for stitch is what I just showed. So I'll show you how to interpret, I can't speak. The, oh no, I messed that up. Okay. Give me a second. Technology. Technology. Okay. And first what I'm going to show is I'm going to show this chart here. Why can't I move it? Why can't I move the chart? That's weird that I can't move the chart. Bear with me. I'm going to insert something on my document real quick. Make this larger real quick. There we go. All right. It kind of does look like a lace pattern. Well, lace is closely related to crochet. So let's see if I can make this. Oh, I can't make that larger, can I? Okay, we'll do it this way. So go over these symbols real quick. Here, oh, and I can't highlight it because it's a picture. So the first one we have is the magic ring. We didn't do the magic ring in this. Then we have slip stitch. We didn't do a slip stitch, except we did do slip stitches when we made a picot. But that dot is just the symbol for a slip stitch. The oval, anytime you see an oval, let me zoom in. There we go. It's a lot better. This oval is a chain stitch. So anytime you see that oval, and then if you see a plus symbol or an X symbol, that means a single crochet. Then when you have a T symbol, T's are half double crochets. A T with a slash through the post of the T is a double crochet. A T with 2 slashes is a treble. or triple crochet. 3 is a double treble. 4 would be a triple treble. And then here at the bottom, decreases are basic. These are double crochet decreases because they've got a slash through the post of the stitch to indicate double crochet, but it's a decrease because the bottom portions of the stitch are in 2 separate stitches, but the tops are joined. So when you decrease, you have X amount of stitches in your row, so you go into each of them, but if you're going to decrease by 1, you go into one, and then you do in the other to decrease. They actually join together. So basically, anytime you do 2 double crochets together, that's a decrease. And then an increase, you're putting 2 stitches in the same stitch. That's pretty simple. So now we're going to go to the next column. The symbol here with 3 chains in like a semicircle with a dot. Well, the ovals mean chains, and the dot means a slip stitch. So that's a 3-chain picot. When you have 3 double crochets in a V shape like this, that means they're all sharing. They're going into the same stitch. So when you make them, they go into the same stitch, and there's 3 of them coming out. That's a fan. You can also see this with 5 of them, however many numbers you want. There's different variations. Here, right below it, there's another one that looks exactly like it. That's another way of showing it, that those 3 double crochets all are in one stitch. The next symbol that kind of looks like a conga drum is a popcorn. So there's 5 double crochets, because you see there's 5 lines, and each line has a slash through it. So that means it's a double, and it's got a round top, because when you form a popcorn, you do 5 of them, however many, and then you take the hook out, and then you put it into the first one, and you grab the loop, and it forms, you cinch it up like a circle. The next one is a bobble. The bobbles are double crochets. They all share the same bottom and top point. A cluster, which is kind of like a bobble. Usually clusters will have, actually no. That's, okay. That is the issue. Some pattern writers will use clusters and bobbles interchangeably. I consider a bobble where they both share the top and bottom, but I consider a cluster the opposite of a fan, where you have multiple stitches, which is like right here. It's a 2. Hey there, Claymiko. I consider clusters where you do a stitch into one, you do a double crochet into one, but you don't finish it. You do half of a double, meaning when you pull up and yarn over, you can only go through 2, and then you go into the next, and you do them together. 2 double crochets together.
Thanks for the sub.
Thank you for the sub, Norfairy. How are you? I consider 2 double crochets together, or 3 double crochets together, or 4 or 5 or whatever. I consider that a cluster. Again, there's no concrete definition of that. I didn't do any back loops on this sample. The next one is the front post double crochet. It looks like a double crochet, but it's got a hook, and the hook points to the left. That's a front post, and if the hook points to the right, that's a back post double crochet. You're exhausted. Potty training is torture. Well, you're like in your late 30s. You should have been potty trained by now. Sorry, I had to. Okay. So, I'm going to repeat. You needed that? Okay. I'm going to go over step by step. I like when. Okay, okay. No, 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 no. Okay. On that note, we're getting ready for a ad break, and before I go into reading this chart and explaining what I did compared to what I have here, we're going to go to the ad break. I need another drink. Yeah. Let's see here. Double check something. Okay, yeah, we're going to go right to the ad. I will be back in a few minutes. And we're back. Thanks everybody for sitting through the ads. It really helps my channel. Let me just zoom in a little bit and move this. Okay. Get it to the right. Whoops, a little bit too large. I can play around with this so it'll fit in the screen. I think that's good. Okay. When we read charts, unless it's otherwise stated somewhere, you're going to start at the bottom of the chart and you're going to go in rows. You're going to go left to right, right to left, left to right, right to left. You're going to go back and forth, zigzag. So the bottom of this pattern here, let me scroll up. See the very top, right above me, there are a series of chains. And I can't can't really highlight this because it's a picture. But there are 11 chains. There's 10 across the bottom. Those are your 10 chains you work into. And then there's one here on the right, all the way to the far right. And I wish I should have printed it up. That one on the far right is your turning chain. So that's your 11 chains. So when we did this sample, we did 11 chains. But that first one we skipped was our turning chain. So that mimics the way that we would crochet. We would do our chain. Actually, it would be this way because our tail's here. We would go across 11, and then the second from the hook, we would do our first stitch, because you're skipping that first one is your turning chain. Then the row above it are X's, and X's, if we remember our little cheat sheet that I showed earlier, X's are single crochets, and there are 10 of them there. So you do 10 single crochets, one in each chain. Then, if you go to the next row, on the left, because again, we're working left to right, right to left, left to right, so you're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There are 2 chains there on the end, the very far left. So that's your turning chain. You're going to chain 2 and turn, but you're not going to turn your chart, you're going to turn your work. And then those are half double crochets, the T-shaped symbol, that's a half double. And they're all lined up, so it's one half double into each single crochet. You get to the end of that row, then you go up a row. In this row, we're working right to left. There are 3 chains. You're going to chain 3 and turn. And then there are double crochets. In this example, and what I just showed here, there are 10 double crochets. You get to the end of the row. And again, you're reading the chart on this row right to left. I know it's confusing. You train your eye to go back and forth. The turning chains is where you start. But again, when you actually do it, you're going to be at the left. If you're right-handed, you'll be at the left. It'll be opposite if you're left-handed. So you get to the end of the row, you're going to chain 4. That's your turning chain to do your treble crochets. Remember, treble crochets are the T's with 2 slashes on the post. That's a triple crochet or treble. So you're going to do however many it's stated, and in this case it's 10. You get to the end of the row, you've got 5 chains, so those are your turning chains. And then the stitches that they want are double triples, because you've got 3 slashes through the post of the T. That's a double triple. So you do X amount, in this case 10. You get to the end of the row, and it's what I just did here. The exact thing. It's just in chart form. Then you get 3 chains on the left-hand side. That's your turning chain. And then you have a front post double. Again, a double. is a T with one slash through it, but a front post has a hook pointing to the left. So if it's pointing to the left, that's a front post. So you do all your front post, get to the end of the row, and then the same thing, you do your chains, and then if the hook is pointing to the right, they're back post. So you're just doing this, just following, you just match it up. And then on this pattern, we've got 3 chains. And then when we did this with the written one, the written pattern was 3 chains, and then it said to do 5 double crochets in the 3rd stitch. So if you look at this pattern here where these fans are, you count 1, 2, 3 back post double crochets, and all 5 of that first fan are all going into that 1 stitch. And then you would skip X amount. You'd skip 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, it's whatever it's written. It's the same as what I had written. And you do it again. The end of this row, and again, when we did the end of this row, we did do a double crochet at the end of the row to make it even. And then the next row is 3 chain. Well, it's actually 4 chains. 3 chains count as our turning chain, and then the 1 chain is our pattern. So you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to do 2 double crochets together, chain 1, 2 double crochets together, etc., all the way to the end of the row. And then the next row, you actually chain 3. The first 2 chains are your turning, but then that 1 chain is your pattern. So it's a chain, it's 3 chains, and then you're going to do your puff, a chain, puff, etc. And you just follow it all the way up. The next row, and again, this might sound confusing. You can always rewatch the YouTube video to see how I did it here. And if you follow along with a cheat sheet chart, with one of those charts, it would probably help you to visualize it. But we've got our 4 chains, so 3 are turning, and then the 4th one, again, we're on this row, the very bottom, the bottom row that's showing. We've got our 4 chains. The first 3 is our turning chain. The last one is our chain that's part of our pattern, and it's got a bobble, chain, bobble, chain, etc. to the end of the row. And then our last 2 rows, so this one is 4 chains. Again, 3 chains count as a turning. That 4th one is a start of our pattern. So it's chain, popcorn, etc. And then when you get to the last row, there's a chain 1, and you do a picot, single crochet, picot, single crochet all the way down. Again, it's going to take some practice. I'm not the best at explaining a chart. I tried my best. If anybody wants me to show, visualize how to do it, I could redo it. If I've confused everybody, I'm sorry. Let me know if I've confused everyone. Check something. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to frog out everything I just did, because this is just a sample. I'm just going to frog the whole thing. Again, those of you who have recently joined, I made the announcement earlier this evening that our Granny event for June is not going to be Granny Week, it's Granny Month. Every day except for Sundays, when I stream, we will have a granny square. At least one. I think I have it planned. I think it's one per stream because they're somewhat involved. And they're all going to be garden themed, primarily flowers. Okay. I think I confused everybody, so we're going to go over the chart again. I've got time. So the bottom row of our chart, it's at the top of the screen there. There are 10 chain symbols plus one that's vertical. The vertical one's the turning chain, so we're going to do 11. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Got 11 chains. And then we have 10 X's. X's are single crochets. You could see that first one on the very right hand side is over top of a chain, but it's got a chain to the right. The one to the right is the turning chain. So we're going to skip the first stitch, the first chain, and go into the second chain from the hook and do a single crochet. And just how they're all lined up, the X's are all lined up with the chain symbols. You're going to put a single crochet into each chain. I pulled the chain and it distorted my stitches. Okay, so that right there on the chart are the little oval symbols and the X's. That's the foundation chain and a row of singles. Now it's the next row above the X's. It's 2 chains that are vertical, so that is our turning chain. Anytime they're vertical in a pattern, that would be a turning chain, and turn. And then it has a half double crochet into each stitch because they're all perfectly lined up with the single crochets that are below. And in this case, it's 10. So again, just what I did earlier tonight with the written pattern. It's the exact same pattern. We're going to do a half double into each stitch from the previous row. Don't forget our very last one. So now on the chart, we're at the far right, the T-shaped symbol. And I'm going to scroll this down a little bit. So the far right, there are 3 chain symbols. So we're going to chain 3 and turn. And now this row, we're reading the symbols right to left. And those are double crochets. And there's a double crochet and 1 double crochet in each stitch. Okay, so there's our row of double crochets. Now, on the far left, the very top of the chart, we've got 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, and turn. And now we're going to do a triple crochet into each stitch because they're all lined up like soldiers. Oh, it would help if I wrap it twice for a triple crochet instead of once. Again, let me know if this is confusing or if it's making sense or you have any questions. I want to double check I have 10 of them. I'm not counting my turning chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, I have 10. Okay. Now, the far right, I've got 5 chains. So I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And turn. And the T with the 3 slashes through the post, those are double trebles. So we're going to wrap once, twice, 3 times. Now we have 4 loops on the hook. And we're going to do our stitch. Double triples are not one of my favorite stitches. And you don't really use them super often. Make certain I wrapped it the right amount of times. Okay. And I think if you want me to continue with this chart pattern, I can. I don't know if we got the hang of it. I will do like a couple more rows. So we've got chain, we're at the very top of, still at the top of the graphic. We've got 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and we turn. And it's a double crochet, but it's a front post because the hook part is facing the left. So we're going to wrap like a double, and then front post again. Front post means the post of the stitch is in front of the hook. And you're going to go and do this for all of them. They're all lined up like soldiers. The most difficult part with the chart is trying to interpret what the symbols mean. But there are cheat sheet charts like I showed earlier, and then a lot of books will have the definitions of the charts. Sometimes patterns will also will do it too. So there is our front post doubles. And then if we scroll up, the far right at the very top corner, it's 3 chains. And then we turn. And then it's back post doubles. Again, a back post double means when you put the hook in, the post of the stitch is behind the hook. So the hook right here is in front of it. And again, it's easier if you fold the work in half so you can access it. I'm going to do one more row after this. I'm not going to complete the entire chart pattern. Again, if anybody has issues they can always message me. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gotta do one more. You can always message me on the Discord, here through Twitch. You can send a comment in the YouTube page. Okay, our very last row is going to be the row with the fans. So I'm going to chain 3, because the upper left-hand corner, left-hand side, we have 3 chains, and then we're going to do our fan, which is 5 double crochets in the 3rd stitch. 1, 2, 3, so there's our 3rd one. And we're going to do our 5 doubles. There's 3, 4, and 5. And then we got to skip 1, 2, 3, skip 4. And in the 5th one, we're going to do 5 more doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the 5th one, we'll do 5 doubles. Five. And then we skip 2, and in our turning chain, we're going to do another double. Because that one in the very far right is over top of the chain, the turning chain from the row below. So we're going to go in the top of the turning chain, into the chain, not into the space. That's basically how you read charts. You start at the bottom and you go left to right, then right to left to right, and so on, back, zigzag back and forth. Again, the most difficult part is trying to decipher what each symbol means to each stitch. Okay, I think what I'm going to do for the rest of the stream, I have 2 easy scrap projects that I think you guys might be interested in. They're good. They're crochet projects, but they're tools. They're things you can use when you go to make other actual projects. When you go to make a blanket or a hat or socks or a sweater or whatever you're making. There are things that can help you with your crocheting. And one is a little more involved than the other, so I'm going to do the least involved one tonight. And then Tuesday night, we will devote the entire stream to the more involved project. And I have to go and get something real quick. Let me just wind my ball of yarn up. And I'm going to use a different... Actually, I can use this yarn. That's fine. I'll be right back. I have to get something. Okay, I'm back. So, you can buy little zippered pouches specifically for crocheters and knitters. You can also use pencil cases and pouches and stuff like that to keep your supplies in, which is great. And I gotta find my little sample. But sometimes things can get lost in your little pouches. And to keep yourself organized, actually, I will continue this when we come back from an ad. We've got about a minute or so. before the ad will start. Double check something. I sample over there. All right, I will be back right after these messages. Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. Seems like that ad break came quicker than the previous one. It's like we just had one. So, you can use a little pencil case or a little zipper pouch that's specifically for your notions for crochet or knitting or whatever. That's fine. They're great. If you already have one, use it. But don't go out and buy one. Because if you want to keep all of your tools for that specific project, and if you can make multiples of these, you can put your hooks, your yarn needles, your scissors, your stitch markers, all of that on this object, and you can keep it with your project, and you can even tie it onto the handle of a project bag. We're going to be making something called a yarn buddy. It's real simple. It's a great use of scraps. So as you see here, I've got a couple yarn needles woven through it. I've got a hook. I've got stitch markers around the edge. And then on the tail, I've got a pair of folding scissors that I just ran the tail through the handle of the scissors. And then the other end, it's just an end, and you can tie that onto your yarn bag or your basket or whatever, and then keep it with your yarn and your project, and everything's right at hand. And it's a good size. You can find it real quick. So, to make one, and this is a good practice on circles. So if anybody needs practice on how to crochet in the round, let's see, there's one. Wait a minute, double check this. I think there's 4 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, there's 5 rounds. Okay. So to make our little yarn buddy, we're going to start with our slip knot, as usual. We're going to chain 4. Hey there, Citric for Blue. How are you? So you're going to chain 4. And this would be great if you got a bright colored yarn, so you can easily spot it. So if it's down in the bottom of your project basket or project bag, you can easily identify it. Also, if it's tied to the handle of a basket or a bag, you can easily grab a hold of it and fish it out. So we've chained 4. Oh, let's take my sample picture down. Okay, actually, you know what? There we go. Even though it's not the granny square background announcing granny month, I'll have to remember to announce it. Thank you, Claymiko, for that. So I've just chained 4, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the very first chain to make a ring. The way people don't think exactly. Claymiko keeps me on my toes. So we chain 4 and slip stitch into the first chain, make a ring, just like if we're going to make a granny square, but we're not going to make a granny square. So what we're going to end up doing, let me just double check. Those were half doubles. Were those half doubles? Yeah, those are half doubles. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to put 9 half doubles into the ring. So those 9 plus this chain 2 will count as a half double, and we will have a total of 10 in the ring. You can always do this whatever amount you want. If you wanted to do 12 in the ring, it can vary. You're just making a circle. So we've got 1. It's actually 2 because our chain 2 counts as 1. So that's 2, 3. Actually, I'm not going to worry about tucking in my tails. You can always stitch over that as usual. I'll do that at the end. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it's 9 actual half double crochets, but then we have that 2 chains there when we started counts as one. So we've got all the way in a row. We don't have to worry about cinching this up real tight because it's, if you wanted to do the magic ring, you could do the magic ring. Doesn't matter. So then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into that first chain, the top of that chain 2 to join. So we've got 10 stitches. Now we're going to chain 2 more. That counts as a stitch. And in that same stitch where we joined here, we're going to do 2 half doubles. And what we're doing is we're increasing. So we went from 10 here, and every time we make a row around, we're going to add 10 to it. So there was 10 on the first one, the next one we're going to have 20. So in every stitch, there's going to be 2 stitches, but keep in mind our chain 2 we started here, that will be our 20th stitch, if you want to think of it that way, because it will share another stitch here. So let's think of it that way. Ignore those 2 chains real quick. So in that first stitch, we did 2. The next stitch, we will do 2. So that's 4. The next stitch, we'll do 2. We're at 6. The very next stitch, we'll do 2. We're at 8. The next, we'll do 2. We're at 10. We're halfway there. The next stitch, we do 2. 12. The next one, we do 2. We're at 14. Again, the next is 2. 16. The next is 2. That's going to be 18. Now we come to our last stitch, but remember, we have the 2 chains here. That counts as 1. So that's number 20, and we're just going to do 1 in here. So now we have 20 stitches because we're counting that 2 chains as a half double crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that 2 chains in the very top to join. So all we've done is we have one row that has 10 stitches, and we've increased into each stitch. So each of those 10 for the first round, each has 2 stitches. Remember, an increase is more than 1 stitch in 1 stitch. So instead of just doing 1 in a stitch, we did 2. So we increase. So that's round 2. So round 3, we're going to chain 2 because we're doing half doubles. And in our next stitch, which is right here, right where we joined, where we did that join, we're going to do 1. Let me get into the stitch the right way. Keep in mind, every time we do a round, we're going to add our base number. Our base number was 10. So we're going to add that number of stitches all the way around evenly. So we had 10 in the first one. This one we had 20. Now this next round, we're going to put 30 stitches in. So in that very first stitch there, we do 1. And then in the next stitch, we will do 2, because that is our increase. So this repeat for this round is 1 in a stitch, and then the next two half doubles in the same stitch. So the next stitch will get 1, and the following stitch will get 2 half doubles. The next stitch will get 1, and the very next stitch will get 2. And so on. You're going to work your way all the way around. That has 1. This one's going to get 2. This is going to have 1. The next stitch will have 2. I hope I'm not confusing anybody with this. The next stitch has 1. And then the next one after that will have 2. And all they are half doubles. The next stitch has 1. The following has 2. The next has 1. The following has 2. Got 1 here. This next one's going to have 2. Now we come to one stitch. Well, we actually have two stitches. We've got one here and one here. So this next one has one. And now we're going to have two. But again, when we started the row, we didn't count the two chains that when we joined, we did 2 chains after the join. That will be join. That's our V. Our increase will be that one and that one. Those are together. So those are our 2 together. So now we're going to slip stitch it. And if you want, you can always go back and count all of them. There should be 30. Let's count them. So here's where we joined. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and then 30 right there where we joined. So that is how we have our round 3. You could stop here, but a little bit bigger. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. Especially if it's in a basket of all of your yarn and supplies and projects, it could get lost if it's not a bright color like this. So I've chained 2, and in the very next stitch where we did our slip stitch to join, now this time we've gone out another row. We're going to add evenly all the way around. We're going to add 10 more stitches in addition to what we have here. So we have 30 stitches. We add 10. So when we get done, we're going to have 40. But to do that, our first stitch gets 1. Our next stitch gets 1. The yarn is splitting. So our first stitch gets 1. Our next stitch gets 1. This yarn does not like me tonight. Does not like me at all. Okay, I gotta start over. I gotta chain 2. Our first stitch will get one half double. The next stitch will get a half double. And then the following stitch will get 2. That is where we're increasing. Earlier I was working on something like this, and I just, for whatever reason, by the way my brain works, I was like, okay, well, this is like, we've got each little segment, there are 4 stitches. So we've got a single person, and then the next stitch, we've got a couple. They're together. The next stitch, we've got a single person. The next stitch, we have a single person. And then the third stitch, we've got a couple. Any way that you can come up with to remember it, that's fine. I think the one video, I think it might have been something like this. She was trying to explain, you get 1 there, 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next. So that one will get 1, and then the last one of our group goes in there because she said the stitch was lonely and was scared and had to go with its friend. Hey, whatever you can configure to remember it. So it's 1, 1, and then the next stitch will get 2. That is our increase. And this is how you would do anything that's a circle as big as you want. Each round, you can gradually increase each time you go around. And you don't have to start with 10 in the center. You can start with 12. You can do whatever. But each time you add a round, you're going to add the number from the center. If you want a circle, the number that you had in the center, you're going to add them evenly all around to what's existing. So there's 1 there, 1 there, and then the next one get 2. And 1 and 1, and then the next one gets 2. We're getting near the end. 1 and 1. The next one gets 2. And then we're going to get 1 and 1. And this last stitch here, we'll get 2. We already have one of them there because that was our turning chain. Well, it wasn't a turning chain, it was our chain of 2. And then have its mate next to it. And then slip stitch to join. Okay, so I think that's a good size. Now we're going to add our last round. And our last round is singles and chains. That's all our last round is. You can't really see them on my sample here, but there are chain spaces. So I'm going to chain up 3. I'm going to skip the next stitch, and in the following stitch, do a single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2, skip a stitch, and in the next stitch, do a single. Repeat that all the way around. Chain 2, skip a stitch, the next stitch gets a single. Chain 2, skip 1, put a single in the next. Chain 2, skip 1, put a single. Chain 2, skip 1, put a single. You could make multiples of these if you've got multiple whips going on. And if you have multiple hooks, like let's say you have multiple of the same hook, because that's very common with us crocheters. We'll have multiples of the same size hook. You can keep a hook with each project. They also have stitch markers, and I've never seen them, but I've heard that they have stitch markers that will have numbers on them that correspond to the size of the hook that you're using. Like it'll say like a 5mm or whatever. And you can attach them to this, so you can also be a reminder of what hook you need to use for that project. I'm just going to work my way around. Okay, I'm coming up to the beginning here. So now I've chained 2. What I'm going to do is when I first started this round, I had 3 chains. So I'm going to find the very first chain, and I'm going to do a single crochet into that chain to complete it. So the base of our yarn buddy is done. It's just a big circle with single crochet and 2 chain spaces all the way around. And now we're just going to chain as long as you want to make the long tail. You make it however long you need it. If you've got a project that's pretty large, like if you're working on a blanket, you might want to make your tail here longer. So if it's connected to your project bag or basket, you could still access the scissors. Okay, I'm not going to keep going, but you get the idea. You make it as long as you want. My sample here, actually, I'll show you on the yellow sample. So I'm going to take everything off. Take off my stitch markers. I need to find flexible stitch markers. These here flex a bit, but they're still rigid. I've seen ones that are almost like, not rubbery, but they're much flexible. You can pull them back and they won't break. I mean, over time they will eventually, but these don't have a lot of give. If I even pull it a certain way, the whole thing will snap. So I'm not going to put the scissors on here because I haven't cut my strand, but you just slide them on to wherever. And then for this portion here, you just take your yarn needle and weave it in a few times. You do it with plastic ones too. And then your hook, put your hook in with the work, and then those chain one spaces around the edge, they'll be great to pop on your stitch markers, so they're handy and you won't lose them. And again, your other end could be tied to your tote bag or your project bag or a basket or whatever. And I'm just going to show you an example. I don't have any, I just took all my supplies off, but I'm going to put my scissors back on, the green one. So I'm just going to thread the chain through the scissors. I'm going to close them up. They're these little folding scissors, which are great. And then I didn't do this on purpose. The yarn matches the bag. This is just a tote bag, a project bag, or whatever. And then all you do is you take your chain here, you finish off your chain like normal. And then you just tie it on. If you want it secure, tie another knot. And then imagine, actually, I'm not going to put the stitch markers on, but you get the idea. If we're going to put our needles and our hook in here, you just weave them through some stitches, and then this is our little scrap balls of yarn. I don't have a project right now to go in here, but let me zoom out a little bit. So you can open your project bag, put your yarn in there, your project, but then this is connected to the handle, and then this can lay in there so it's all together. If you had a brightly colored one, so you could see it on top of your work, that would work also. So just a fun little thing to make to help you keep organized. And let me undo this knot because I don't need this on this bag right now. And you can, like I said, you can make multiples of these yarn buddies, and one can go in each project bag. So you're not always trying to find all your hooks and all your needles and everything. Just get in whatever you're using for that project and keep it with that work, and you'll be organized. Before I end the stream tonight, I need to move that. I'm going to show you what we're going to work on all stream on Tuesday. Again, tomorrow night I'll be on for the temperature blanket, as we usually do. Tuesday, before we start Granny Month, so Tuesday's still May, you've probably seen this on stream, my yarn bowl. It's been through a lot. It's been broken like 3 or 4 times and glued. They're great because they will hold your ball of yarn and you pull it through and it won't roll all over the place. If you have a caked yarn, you don't really need a yarn ball because they'll sit on your table fine. But if you have balls, that'll be great. But these can be expensive. They come in wood and metal. No, not metal. Well, maybe metal. Plastic, ceramic. They can be expensive. And they're great. They're great to have. But if you travel, if you take your work different places, or if not, if you just want something less rigid, you can make your own. And we will make our yarn bowl Tuesday night out of scrap yarn. And this is, the inside's kind of ratty with tails and everything. But I'm going to show you how to make a yarn bowl, real simple. And it even has eyelets here on the side that you can run your yarn through and work on it, and your ball stays in the basket. Plus, it's got a little loop here that you can connect your yarn buddy to, or if you got a carabiner, if you want, you can clip the carabiner on there and attach that to something, to your yarn bag or whatever. Also, and we're getting ready to have an ad break, if you fill your yarn up with yarn, you can always fold this up and store this in another bag, so it's collapsible. So that's what I have planned. So before we do our ad, when we come back from the ad, I think we're just going to end the stream. So everybody have a good night. Happy crafting. And I will see you tomorrow night for Temperature Blanket. You're excited for what? The yarn basket? The yarn bowl? Yeah, I made this the other day, and I'm like, that is so cool. And also, to laugh before we leave, it could double as a hat. It could double as a hat. Oh, you're too tired? Yeah, I know how that is. Oh, you sheared today. Wow. Well, hopefully you got some good fiber out of your shearing. So like I said, everybody have a good night, and we're probably going right to an ad. So chat with y'all tomorrow. Hate to be quick, but the ad's gonna like run automatically. So